Shit.
Good evening, and welcome back to Hall of Fame College Football with Jason and the coach. I'm your host, Jason Watkins. The coach will be along shortly, and if you love college football, you know you're in the right place. So before you forget, smash that red subscriber button, like our videos, and don't forget to ring the bell so you don't miss one moment of Hall of Fame College Football. Hankster, where the hell you been? Ain't seen you in a minute. Good to see you, man. Michael McCackrin, what's up, Sooner? Good to see you guys. Raw, what's up, man? What's up? Just got off talking some trash with him a little bit. We may get into some of what we were talking about a little bit as well on the show here tonight. Rob, you want to jump on? You're welcome to. Coach will be along in a minute, though. So if not, that's cool, too. Just let me know. Comanche Sooner, what's up, my guy? Logan Licky, what's up, fellas? What's up? Everybody make sure you wipe those feet on your way in. Hit that like button. It's so important for us content creators, and it's free. Free way to do it. So appreciate everybody hopping in. Sorry I'm an hour late, man. We had a long day today. A lot of stuff going on around here. Just couldn't really get in here right away. What's up? Good to see everybody. Ross, send that to you just in case you want to hop in. Let me know. Let's see. Let me do that for him real quick just before I get started. Where is that? Well, maybe. So let's talk about, you know what? I wanted to start off kind of talking a little bit about, obviously, we had Sooner Pro Day today. They look good again. Saw some good stuff out of Trace Ford. I'm hoping, I think he may have gotten himself, if not drafted, he's going to get himself some opportunities in the off season. So I think that would be a big deal for him, right? Excited about that for him. And then of course you have also, all the guys that did pro day and whether or not they were in the combine or not, which a lot of them were, the three major ones were. What's up there, bro? Chicken? Booger in the left. Yeah, I don't buy it. Yeah. Any worries about O'Neal visiting Georgia? Hey, that's a good question. We'll get into that. What's up, Drewski? OU Revenge Tour, Chicken. Good to see everybody in here. Derek, what's up, dog? Where you been? Good to see you, man. Good to see you. Now, listen, I'm excited about that. Yeah, we'll talk a little bit about that. I don't know that I'm really that concerned. I don't know that I'm that worried about that as far as Georgia's concerned. I think quarterback-wise, could you understand it if he did decide to, flip? Kind of. They've been flirting a little bit with they've been flirting quite a bit, actually, with Bo Bentley. He was there, obviously, on Future Freaks weekend as well. So that, yeah, I mean, I think that's the risk that you run, as we were kind of talking about this past week. If you're gonna recruit two guys like that are both at the top of the list as far as quarterbacks are concerned in this class, then one of them's not going to be there. If they are really serious about getting him, and if that is the guy that is preferred by Arbuckle, maybe it is headed in that direction. Now, I will say that he just moved to Oklahoma. He's going to be going to school his last season and playing there in the city. So I still think that O'Neal's an Oklahoma guy. He's been very Well, he's been very loyal to Oklahoma. I guess you could question whether Oklahoma's being loyal to him, and it's risky, as we talked about this last week, what they were doing. So I don't know, man. I think it's a good question, but we'll have to wait and see kind of what happens with it. These are one of the reasons I don't get too wound up about recruiting, man. These kids are going to change their minds. These kids are going to change their minds often. We know that. We've seen it a lot. I think overall this class looks like it's going to be very good. And I feel like that the way that they recruit and the things that's going to be happening here with Jim Nagy coming aboard is going to be huge for them, right? So I'm not really ultra concerned about any of it in the end. I feel like they've recruited in the top 10 all but this last cycle. I think a lot of that had to do with the fact that they weren't they only got 18 guys out of high school, so that definitely dinged them on recruiting side. The guy that they got that, and some of the guys that they got out of the portal, they may or may not have been highly, highly ranked, but I think that they were identified as good talent. Good example of that would be, of course, Giovanni Gibson, who, we told you on this show first, Marcus Dent said it here that he was a dude that could play at the SEC level and be a big time player at the SEC level. Now you're hearing it from guys like Teddy and Gabe on their show as well, that he's a superstar. So some of these things are going to be, some of these things are just going to happen. What's up there, Bloody? I ain't seen you in a minute. Jimmy Satterfield. What's up, guys? I do feel like in the end, you got, your revenge tour. What's up, guys? Yeah. In the end, I think that overall, I do believe that they're going to be fine recruiting wise. I just think that they are. I don't think that it gets worse when you are, you bring in a guy like Jim Nagy that can help identify and that kind of stuff. And you've got these guys, we already know that they're solid with their recruiting stuff. I think that this offseason has shown that they are serious about winning. They're bringing in coaches that, multiple coaches at linebacker that are, solid in their own right. Wes Goodwin is one of the best recruiters on the East Coast. He's the one that brought in linebacker after linebacker at Clemson as well. So I think that it's going to be a big deal there. I think defensively they're going to be really, really, really good. Really good. I said that earlier on whenever I was talking to Raw on his show. So one of those things, I just think it's not going to get worse. It's going to get better. But when it comes to that recruiting, maybe I think Arbuckle, maybe he favors Bo Bentley. Maybe he does. I mean, the guy was undefeated in Class 4A and won the state championship in Texas this past year. He does throw the ball very well. I don't think that he throws it as well as does O'Neal, but I think that he is very good. What's up there, Kimberly K? Good to see you. Yeah, the new roster situation is going to be a fun thing to figure out. Yeah, I mean, and like I said, I think that when you start looking at, we've talked about this a bunch on this show, especially with the, all the stuff that we do that's mostly Sooner stuff. We've said it an awful lot of times that there's a lot of dudes in there that weren't ranked as highly as some of the other guys that you would see that were headed to Alabama or headed to Georgia or LSU or whatever, or Texas, but doesn't mean that they're any different. I mean, I would put that D-line up against, in fact, I think you have the best D-line in the country right now. And it should show that this season. I also think that quarterback wise, that you're still attracting really good quarterbacks. I think defensively overall, I would say that they're going to be in great shape. They're going to be in great shape. They've continued to do a very good job of recruiting guys, and I think a lot of those dudes have been underrated as well. Just think of Jaden Jackson and Eli Bowen, both of which were at least at one point were 3-star guys, and I think basically Eli remained a 3-star guy. He's a freshman All-American at corner. Then you got freshman All-American in Jaden Jackson, who whenever he committed to OU, he was ranked in the 400s, 450 or somewhere in that. He was right next to Stoney and still ranked real low. Um, he obviously jumped into the top 150, I believe it is, 200 at least, and became a freshman All-American as well. Started every game as a true freshman at defensive tackle. That means something, right? That means something. We know that Boganowski was underrated. He was the number one guy out of Kansas, but that he was a 4-star, but he was in more around that top 250 range when he very well should have been a top 100 guy. You know, I think Powers was ranked pretty well, but some of the other guys weren't. I'm gonna tell you that Isaiah Autry-Dent not ranked very well for being 6'7" and near 300 pounds when he got here as a true freshman. You know, and we know a lot of that, having talking to Marcus, we know why a lot of that is. Once they committed to OU, they stopped going on trips, they stopped going to camps, and they dinged them for it. So that stuff happens, man. That stuff happens. But in the end, um, oh man, coach ain't gonna be able to make it in. Oh man. One of his one of their patients at one of their homes that they run at Leaders just passed away apparently. So apparently he's not going to make it in. That's all right. We'll continue on. Prayers out to that family though, no doubt. Will Dolby be ready to start the season? I don't know. It sounds like it though. Everything I've been hearing is that he's trending in the right direction. He's still got a long time before you. I mean, what 7 more months basically until the start of the season. I think that at least maybe not 7, like 5 months. Yeah, I think he's going to be good to go. But in the end, that's where you're starting to see some of these other guys as far as that. That's why you bring in a guy. Hold on, let me pull up I want to pull up the depth chart real quick. That's of course why you bring in a guy like Kendall Daniels. You know, he was he looks like he could play cheetah. He was playing linebacker last year at Oklahoma State. But he's been a free safety for most of his career. Another freshman All-American guy. Reggie Powers has been working a lot at the cheetah position. Apparently, that's what Goodwin is really coaching the most. So I think when you look at that tells you that they've got a good plan behind that. We've been hearing for a long time, really, that Samuel Omosigo was the next in line to be that cheetah guy as well. Right now, they're showing him number 2 at the will linebacker behind Kip. At least this is just on our lads, of course. They're not going to put anything out for Oklahoma. It doesn't sound like for a while. But yeah, why would O'Neal commit? Why would O'Neal commit when he's moving here or decommit or flip is what you're getting at, Billion? I don't know that he is. It's a question that people are having, and in fact, somebody just asked it to me. Parker thinks Bentley will be a Sooner and O'Neal will decommit. Okay, that's where you're going from, Jimmy. Yeah, I don't know, man. Maybe that's what. Look, we know that if there's anything that those guys are wrong about, Parker and Brandon, it's on who's going to freaking commit and decommit and show up and sign and all that other shit. So you got to take it with a grain of salt with all of these guys that are telling you unequivocally that anybody's going to end up anywhere, right? Because they miss, I don't have to do that. I don't do that. I'm not going to sit here and tell you I know what the hell's going on in the mind of a 17-year-old. I don't. And, so I'm just going to sit here and tell you that sometimes those dudes are wrong. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. And they're sometimes right too. I'm not going to say that he's never right, but I'm saying if out of all those insider dudes, who misses on their predictions more than the other ones? It would be Parker and Brandon. So it is what it is, man. Hey, listen, I do want to talk about this. This is one of the things I was going to bring up for sure. I don't know how many of you guys caught his media availability yesterday. I thought it was fantastic. It tells you that it's been something that's been thought about for a while. He wanted to put everything he had into being a linebacker. He feels like he did that, and he sure seemed to me like he was comfortable with the decision that he made. And that, to me, is huge. Hey, thanks for the prayers from everybody. I appreciate that, guys. Yeah, coach just he was gonna show up, and then he had a death in one of the houses that he runs an assisted living program here in Hobbs. So I guess there was a death in one of the homes there. So he's gonna have to deal with that. But shout out to their family, prayers up for their family. Hopefully, I don't know exactly what happened or whatever, but it's tough. It's tough stuff. O'Neill's a thoroughbred. I agree. But again, I look, if all things were equal and they started off at the same time, I mean, they were really going after the same dude, whatever. They were going after both of them, started off with or whatever, and neither one of them had already committed or something like that and wasn't a big part of this class. I may have a different opinion on who I want coming in. I don't know that I would, because I think overall, when you look at what Jaden O'Neill is, he's bigger. I think he does have a better arm. He's not as mobile, I guess, if you want to count mobility in it. I don't know that I think that mobility is a huge part of what you're going to see out of Bo Bentley either. But he also went through and was undefeated and has ridiculous numbers, at the Class 4A level there in Texas. But it is big time. It's still big time football. So, yeah, I think that it is what it is. No. He kind of runs one. Man, that's hilarious. It's developmentally disabled folks that they run different places. I mean, their organization that he runs, it's a nonprofit organization for the developmentally disabled. He's usually, it's been a big deal for him basically since I've ever known him. Yeah, so I don't want to tell you everything that I mean, this a lot of, but what him and his wife have done over their lifetime that I've known them is pretty amazing for what they do for kids, adults, all that stuff. Pretty amazing stuff they do. I also think Anil's a good kid. I think they're all pretty good kids. I don't think that the stuff with Bo is any different. I think that he's also well aligned as far as how things are with the program and all that. Yeah, they've been wrong before. A few times, yeah. And it's I get maybe not as many times. I don't know if it's more than others or anything like that. I probably shouldn't have said that. But the ones that stick out in your mind were definitely when they were overly confident about them being Sooners, I guess is what you should say. Yeah, listen, I thought it was amazing. I thought it was a pretty awesome interview myself. I listened to it, and I listened to it a second time, even parts of it. We'll probably get into a little bit more of that tomorrow. I wanted to maybe highlight a little bit of that, but I don't have it recorded, so and I don't want to just use somebody else's video or anything like that. But I've got the audio recording. I'll get that all together, and we'll do some different stuff with it. I'm on them jugs like a baby on milk. That's hilarious too. And you know what? Until I watched it the second time, Ryman, I didn't really put the jugs. I was thinking jugs machine, but you could take that another way. Yeah, just what he was talking about with the baby on milk. That was hilarious. Good stuff. Listen, I think that what he was saying though, it's a lot more natural to him, and he never felt natural to him to be a linebacker. I think that's anybody that's been any somewhat critical about him, and I know that I could be added to that list of people that have been, because I think that there was times, and he kind of admitted to it, that he was a bit of a liability to have him in the game. He never felt comfortable. He watched tons of film. I think his work ethic has always been there. He shadowed, Danny Stutzman and worked with him as much as he could, and it just never really got normal for him. I think he didn't want to be called a quitter. I understand or feel like a quitter. I don't think called it was a concern for him, but to be feeling like a quitter. To me, I feel like allowing himself to be some kind of, because special teams is a big deal. You need to be good on, and he was great on special teams last year, by the way, great on special teams. But I think allowing himself to go out there, play with like his hair is on fire, at a natural position. He's great catching the ball. I think he's a guy that clearly with what he did in high school, he's a guy that has a nose for the end zone. He's physical. He's big. I think that, as far as muscle wise, he's not huge, tall. I don't know that he's a tight end per se, but I do think that at H-back, I think of guys like Dimitri Flowers whenever you think this is the kind of player that he could become. Right. And Dimitri was unbelievable. Right. And guys like, Hall as well. So yeah, Jeremiah Hall. I mean, these guys were great in the same kind of offense that you're probably going to see a lot of coming up. I mean, obviously they're not stuck on any one thing. One of the things that Teddy and Gabe were talking about was the fact that they'll get under center, and that Gabe was saying that he saw that, and I mean they were gushing about that. I love that shit too. I love to see them running downhill. You can see I think you might see a lot of 12 personnel. I really do think that you might see a lot of 12 personnel. So I think that that's big. I also think that you could probably split him out and use him as more of a slot type of guy as well. Or, who's to say? The guy is fast. We know he ran a 4.4 coming in, So this is a dude that I'm glad that he gave himself an opportunity to give himself a shot at the next level, because he wasn't going to get that shot at linebacker. And I think everybody knew that. Unless he somehow the light turned on this year and he had 2 years of just being a straight up gangster at it. And if he wasn't still feeling it, and now you've recruited over him, to guys that it's already a natural fit for them. So I think that he saw the writing on the wall, and I think it was smart of him to go ahead and move forward to do that. I also think that it was smart. I like hearing that he prayed about it, and it's something that he thought about for a long time, and talked to some different people, and had chats with Coach Venables. He never wanted to leave OU though at none of this time. This is what he wanted to do. So it's huge. Huge stuff. What's up there, USCJ? I bet you won't come in here and talk about it, because I got a few things to say. I bet you won't come in here and talk about it. I tell you what, I'm going to send you a link to Twitter just because, I'm kind of daring you now. Twitter DMs, USCJ. Come on with it. This is not the place to come in here and talk that. The main negative about outing Hayes was left to right ability. Hell of a straight ahead runner, lacked a little bit of wiggle. Yeah, I think you're probably right there. Yeah. Again, I think that when you start looking at what they're going to use him at, more of that H-back deal, his speed a little bit and power. Look, I'm not expecting him to come in here and be an All-American. You know what I mean? That's not what I'm saying. No, we weren't wrong about Lincoln Riley, bro. We're not wrong about Lincoln Riley. You're wrong about Lincoln Riley if you think he's all that. I mean, hell, he had the Heisman Trophy winner for a second year and went 7-5, bro. Then won 6 last year. What are we talking about? You had the number 1 class at this time last year too. And where did y'all end up? Whenever they sign on the line and show up at SC, I'll believe it. Yeah. USCJ is a little lost in the sauce. He's at work. Man. Well, this is there. We have all the sauce right now. We'll see, bro. Well, they had it at this time last year. How many of those? I saw you on Old Boy's show earlier talking about this was funny that weaponizing USC. What are you shitting me? Yeah. Oh, the receipt is already here, bro. The receipt is already here. That's one of the things I was gonna bring up was SC. I was just gonna wait a minute until coach got here. But now, look, man, I'm gonna tell you this, and this audience knows it, that and I've said it. I think that Lincoln Riley at least has been the best play caller and the best offensive mind in the country. I do think that. I think that he's proven that he knows very little about what it takes to build a team on his own because he didn't ever do it at Oklahoma. He inherited a Ferrari and he left it in not good shape. Left it in not good shape. He goes over there, the guys that he inherited and brought in the portal, including the Heisman Trophy winning quarterback, yeah, they went out there and won 11 games in a year that they didn't have to play Washington or Oregon, but they couldn't beat Utah. Got his boy beat up against Utah. Oh, dry brisket Lincoln ain't all that, man. Especially when it gets down to big games. He ain't all that. No. But here's the thing, though. Here's what you do have to say. And I know a lot of people are not going to, they don't want to give him credit. Nobody wants to give Lincoln credit for the fact that all those guys have won the Heisman. He didn't recruit this guy. He didn't recruit bullcrap. All those guys, he was in on recruiting them all. Now, Stoops was there when they got, obviously Baker. Stoops was there, but so was Lincoln. Stoops was there when Baker got there. Stoops was there when Kyler got there. So overall, you got to say, yeah, it came to it, right? But you could say, okay, fine. You could say that. Last year, yeah, they had a bad offensive coordinator. They had crazy injuries and a quarterback that wasn't as good as his stars said that he was. They also have one of the best defenses in the country. Now they have a guy that led the country in touchdowns last year, had 800 yards rushing and over 3,000 passing yards too. 40 plus touchdowns. He's been in this same system that he's in right now, and you're gonna see they're gonna be fine. You aren't gonna come in here and talk that shit in here, and they're gonna hit the screen. I'll tell you that much. But I see what you're saying. I do wish you would show up on the show and we could have this talk, though. I really do. Got all love for you, USCJ, but you don't come in here talking shit about Lincoln being great and Oklahoma's not. You know I'm not going to take that kindly. Yeah, Honda Civic's more like an Abrams tank. Wait till you see this defense. This is the best defensive line in the country, period. It's going to be one of the top defenses in the country. They just have to be serviceable on offense, and they're going to go out there and do their thing. Oklahoma's got the toughest schedule in the country, but I still think that they're going to go out there and win at minimum 8, and I think that they could win up to 10. I think it's going to be tough, but they don't have the schedule that SC has. Certainly don't have the schedule that Texas has, their little training wheel schedule. Shit. Yeah. Yeah, I know. I don't know how he comes in here and says all that stuff whenever it's the same, pretty much. 2 games difference. When you coming on now? Come on with it. Come on with it. Guarantee you. Yeah, see, I'm with you on that. Yeah, I'm not ready yet to do this one, Mike. Not ready to do this. The road games that they have are going to be tough. I think LSU is going to be a handful with their quarterback situation. I think that they should beat the road game that I think that they should win for sure. I believe that South Carolina lost a lot more than people are really talking about. They lost 4 defensive linemen that matter. The same with Tennessee. I don't know what they have. I think Nico could be better and still not really. I think Nico could be better, and it may not equate to wins for Tennessee, because I don't know what they ended up with. As far as I know, they got a really good freshman receiver coming in. He's a freshman. That's expecting a lot, right? So we'll see. When you coming on? Come on, man. Come on. Let's set it up. All right. Well, when you want to do it? When you got time? You want to do it in the morning? You want to do it in the morning? I got the morning show. If you're working tonight, you should be off in the morning, right? Mm-hmm. You can come on in the morning for Rise and Shine if you'd like. It would be about to get good. Tell me where you're wrong. Where are you wrong on what? Yeah, it is about the same. No, listen, and I would tell you that he's had 2 years in a row that weren't good. You know, one of them with the Heisman Trophy winner. So I think that they were a better football team once they brought in Mayava. But I was telling him before the season ever started that they ought to be playing him instead of who they played, and they were stuck on what's his name, the other quarterback, Miller Moss. They were all stuck on Miller Moss, including USCJ. Yeah, USCJ with a pump fake, he says. Hey, what's up there, Bomber? Is that you, Bomber? What's up, my guy? Good to see you, man. Holding court. Yeah, we're just talking it up a little bit about Coach ain't gonna make it on tonight. So actually, if I was gonna talk to you a little bit about something, because I was talking to a guy earlier today, and we do want to talk a little bit of realignment. I'll shoot you a link here in just a minute. Let me kind of finish this conversation that I'm having, and then we'll kind of move forward. But where were we? Oh, on let's talk OU a little bit more. The idea, to me, I think that maybe that tight end room is going to be a little better, more than we thought. So, I mean, if you've got, look, as much as I love it that Kanak is, looks like he's coming around and stuff like that, I think that the best sign that I've seen out of that room was that we're hearing good things about Caden Helms, not seeing a knee brace on him, hearing that he's playing really well. And even Kanak talking about him yesterday, that he's been helpful for him, and that he's rooting for him as well. I believe that, first off, he deserves it after being injured the way that he was. And I know I kind of got onto Sooner in Texas a little bit about that yesterday, but I would tell you that, yeah, I'll have you on here in just a few minutes, man. I would tell you that I think that that's a big deal if he can get in here and do his thing a little bit, because when you look at the athlete that Caden Helms is, last year he was wearing that knee brace. He never really looked like he was fully back to where you would have expected him to be. And it's understandable when you've had 2 torn ACLs, right? Back-to-back years. Took some time for him to kind of really get back, but I'm really hoping that he does stay healthy and is able to contribute. I think that Wilson being back in the mix is huge for that, because you remember, I mean, he was the tight ends guy whenever Jermaine Gresham was, doing his thing out here. Arguably the best tight end to play at Oklahoma. I mean, it's him or Keith Jackson. There's really not a whole lot of argument outside of those 2 guys. So, I mean, there's some other really good ones, but I think that those are the two best that I've ever seen for sure. Now, we'll have to kind of wait and see, but I'm hoping. Yeah, nobody can rhyme. That's true. Devon Mitchell, that's another thing. I think that he may, and I think that having Kevin Wilson back in the fold is going to help with a situation like that. He looks good too. I don't know that you're going to see both Kanak and Caden Helms be a big part of what's going on. I think that they brought in those guys in the portal for a reason as well. So I don't know exactly what. Yeah, Mark Andrews is another one that you could say. Yeah. No, we're good. We're good. You didn't really tick me off too much. I was just I guess I did take exception to a little bit, but I feel like I don't think it's his fault at all. That's all I was saying. I believe in Joe Hendry. Should Wilson just be the tight end coach and Joe John leave? Nah, man. Those guys love Joe John, man. Those guys love Joe John. I think I took a lot of that from the Kanak thing. That's one of the things I wanted to bring up. I think that he can coach tight ends. I think he's one of the better tight ends that I've seen at Oklahoma as well. I don't look at him as Jermaine Gresham or Mark Andrews or anything like that, but he was damn good. Joe John was. There's just no two ways around it. And he was coached by Kevin Wilson also. Working with Big Bill. Yeah, he was an offensive line coach too, right? Yeah. Listen, I don't think any of it hurts. And I think that, when you've got a guy like him, we've said this plenty of times before, that has the experience that he has as a coordinator and even as a head coach, I think that he's going to help a lot of people on that offensive staff, even just as a sounding board, somebody that you can game plan with, do some things that, lean on his experience in that position. And he can help. He doesn't have to be in charge of anything, but I think he's certainly going to be helpful. He's got a buyout. That's why he's doing this. I think that he still loves Oklahoma. That's cool. I don't know, man. Okay, TP. That's fair. Listen, I'm you're not going to get a real argument out of me. I mean, yeah, Keith was different, right? But so was Jermaine. And I don't think he had as long of a career in the NFL either. Jermaine didn't, but I think that he was about to be one of the best to ever do it there too. Injuries ended up getting to him, but I don't know, man. I think that they were different. They were different types of guys, and at a different time in the eras, in different eras. It's hard to judge them against each other. If you look at the numbers, I don't know that Keith's really close to him when it comes to what he did at Oklahoma. Of course, they were running the wishbone. They were running the wishbone, so it's a little different. But I get it. I get what you're saying. I won't argue with you too much about it. I just think it's one of those deals where you can you could definitely argue the point. What's Satterfield? Let's see. What? Mitchell needs to show out. I'd like to see that for sure. But I was going to bring that up about USCJ and being on that other show and see what was that show he was on earlier. Just a second. I wanted to look at that. I actually like that dude's show. He's young kid, but he does a lot of stuff and he's pretty good. But they were talking about, Lincoln Riley has weaponized USC football. Talking about them. And I mean, don't you have to at least lock down that recruiting class before you guys start crowning him and shit? He hasn't won anything. And I think if you're gonna love on anybody, it ought to be the defensive staff that you've brought in, the guys that you have on that defensive side. I don't think and I don't think that had anything to do with Lincoln Riley. I think that had everything to do with Jen Cohen. I don't know. The difference, Keith Jackson was part of so many Sooner Magic plays. Definitely. Well, look at that play that they made against FSU that year, in that 85 season. Yeah, I get it. I get it. Or maybe it was 86. I don't remember. Anyway. But yeah, I don't know, man. I think it's hilarious though that we're just gonna. And I mean, damn, they didn't even have to. When you look at what USC did last year, they had losses to Maryland. You want to talk about the bowl loss? Bowl losses are what they are, which doesn't really matter. You know, bowl games, generally speaking, I think we've agreed that. I know it matters to a lot of Oklahoma fans that they're not winning them, and I think at some point you got to win a postseason game. I agree, but you know, what about the Maryland loss? What about the Minnesota loss? You know, come on. Talking about, and USCJ's been puffing that chest out about being close with Notre Dame and being close with Penn State. You had them both at home. And Penn State ain't that good. Penn State got as deep as they did in that playoff because the Big Ten isn't very good. They did win that game. They won enough to get in there. But then they got the easiest draw in the playoff, period. Start off with SMU, and then you get Boise State. It was a cakewalk into the semifinal. Silly shit. Or quarterfinal, I guess it was. No, it was the semis, wasn't it? Semifinal, yeah. Yeah, no doubt. What's up there, outsider? What's up, my guy? Good to see you. Penn State. Did I say Florida State? Yeah, I don't know why I said that. In the national championship game, for sure. Yeah, that's the question. Hey, look, and I guess let me get Bomber in here for this conversation. They talk about realignment and stuff like that a lot more than I do. And they've, he's connected with a lot of those guys that know where this is headed to. So let me shoot that over to Bomber real quick. I'll send it to his Twitter too, real quick. 1 second. Norman, get over here. Oh, I didn't say to jump on me. Come on now. Stinking dog. This dog is a mess, folks. A mess. Yeah. All right. So, but here's the thing, and here's what we were talking about earlier. I think that you got to go, and we've talked about this a little bit with Bomber the last time he was on, but I think if you go to a 48 team thing, it's bad. It's not the right way to go. Real quick. Welcome to the show from the Big 12 Mafia and the College Football Mafia. Our friend Nathan Bomber Brown. What's up, my guy?
How we doing? I just finished my stream and I still have lots to talk about, so I figured I'd hit you up. How you doing?
Spicy. You must have been spicy over there then, huh?
I'm still, this ACC stuff is so fun. I honestly could do it for hours
Finebaum
and
was
hours.
talking some shit today, huh?
He was, yeah. Yeah, I think it's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous.
What did he say? Let me get. Well, he said they're basically about to start leaving in droves. Is that what he was getting at?
Well, no. What he's saying is there's nobody really big enough to join the SEC or the Big Ten. He really hammered down on Florida State for one, and didn't do any kindness to Miami, North Carolina, or Clemson. So He's basically saying ACC could blow up. Schools have nowhere to go. You could leave tomorrow. From last year, the fascinating number to do you sort it out? Need to be around 300 million to keep that conference together, consistent, everybody making the same amount of money. Now the buyouts almost half that, and schools are going, okay, we want out, and nobody's saying, hey, come on over. So.
Well, I mean, that's true. That's the one thing about it. You've heard over and over again that the SEC is not ready to
Yeah, why would they?
expand. They don't want to right now.
Yeah, well, the number right now, the number is 70 million. It's going up.
No.
Is your school worth in media value every year 70 additional million? Because if it's not, then what the SEC or the Big Ten to take you on as a full member, as a full one share,
Right.
you would have to bring that value with you. And I don't
Well, they
think
do have
any
the
of those
pro
schools.
rata of the SEC. So if somebody did come aboard now, they would get
Right.
the same money.
Exactly, and that's the problem. ESPN doesn't want to pay. They want them, but they want them at the half share or the third share, like the Big Ten did with Oregon and Washington.
Mhm. No, I get it. And I what I was saying, and I was on the show a little earlier, we were kind of discussing it back and forth a little bit about whether it's going to go to this. And Shawty's saying, I was saying 3 or 4 years ago, people thought I was crazy when I stated to be 2 super conferences. I'm
Right.
still not positive that it is.
I still don't think we're going there.
I don't know that we are either, because here's where I'm at. And you read the column that I wrote a couple
I
of
did.
weeks ago talking about this. And I think the way I feel about what that coming out was that was the SEC and Big Ten floating that to Ross Dellinger so that he could float that out there to the country and get a gauge on what people think about it.
Trial balloon, absolutely.
Absolutely. And so doing that, what he was doing was not only that though, but I think that they heard privately from Fox and ESPN, no, you can't do that. You cannot knock out three-fourths, or 3/4 of the country of FBS football, I guess you should say.
Right.
You can't alleviate or eliminate.
Disenfranchise. You can't
If you do that,
disenfranchise.
then you've
Right.
killed the golden goose.
So, I'm perfect for this conversation, right? Because
Yeah,
BYU
come
has
on
been
with
the
it.
one brand nationally that it never really fit in, right? It was a square peg in a round hole. And part of the reason is because you bring them in, you run the risk that now all of a sudden this brand that nobody really wants to take seriously is now where they're
Right.
at, right? Just doing really well. So you have these national pictures in these conferences that are now looking around and is Utah a big DMA? No. Right? Is Iowa a big DMA? Is Nebraska? Is Oklahoma? Frankly, they're not huge DMA markets.
That's
There's
correct.
not millions, and Houston's bigger than all those states almost combined in their
Right.
population. So that's not the
But it's
number.
a pro city though.
Okay, thank you. So one of my long shows last week is I was showing everybody the percentages of and I don't have the graph this second,
No,
but it
it's
was
okay.
showing everybody the percentages of the viewership for the ACC. And if you take out the top 4 brands and Louisville,
Mhm.
and last year was Georgia Tech was really big. They did really well last year. If you
It's
take those
Atlanta.
5 or
That
6
makes
brands
sense.
out, that's more than half of all the viewers for a conference that has 17 teams.
Mhm.
It's absolutely upside down, and it's untenable.
Right, well, and
So
you start looking at Cal and Stanford, and nobody even watches their games at home.
or SMU.
Yeah, same.
SMU average. This is crazy, Jason. They had a fantastic season, made the CFP. They averaged like 250,000 viewers every game.
Wow. Small
That's
private school, man.
and,
Yeah, that makes sense.
and BYU is right around a million. It's still growing, and so the bottom line is the ACC is extremely unstable, and the reason it will change, right? Well, it will morph, is because those best brands are going to find homes
True.
eventually somewhere else. I'm not saying it's the Big Ten or the SEC, by the way. I think they will find a place, but it might not be those 2 conferences.
Do you think that the Big 12 and ACC end up merging somehow?
No.
No?
No, because Brett Yormark's a better businessman than all the ACC people are. He can look at them and say,
I could just
out of
take your programs
what?
and
Right. So let's assume you lose the top four.
right.
Miami, North Carolina, Florida State, and Clemson gone. Right. Let's just assume they make the jump somehow, and I still don't know if that'll happen.
Mhm.
Those four brands by themselves carry so much of the media markets with them, the viewership,
Right.
that the next four, and you could take these in any order. I like Louisville, Virginia Tech, North Carolina State, Georgia Tech, and then you have some on the outside looking in. Pitt is, where does Pitt go, right? And that's just one example. So
Yeah.
that's where the ACC has so much trouble. There's
Pitt, Syracuse, some of them. That's where I'm at.
yeah,
See,
where
and I
well,
think
no,
Pitt
we didn't
has a
even mention
great
the California
following.
schools.
Right, right,
Sorry,
right.
I apologize. Go
No,
ahead.
no, no, I'm saying that's where I'm like, because they were saying, "Okay, we were gonna go to 48." But
Yeah,
here's
right.
the
Well,
thing,
some people.
if you
Yeah.
go to 48 teams and do a Big 2, right?
Yes.
It we're talking, you know what, now you've got 70 plus or 80 FBS programs that are no longer involved in it. And this is what I was saying. Those
Yeah.
fringe fans, the fans that they love BYU or they love Kansas State. I was using
Right.
Kansas State as an example a minute ago. I
Right.
think they would be on that bubble of I think that they would get into it. They're going to pay into it for now, right? Maybe they find their way into one of these conferences. I don't know. I know Kansas would because Kansas being the brand that it is and the basketball part of it, I think that they're going. But you're looking at really at the moment right now, the Big Ten and the SEC, they have 16 and 18 teams already in them. So they're only going to add 14 if it gets to that point, right? 14
Yeah.
total. That leaves out a lot of these fringe Texas Techs, Arizona State. What are you going to do
Can
with
I
them?
can I ask you a question?
Go ahead.
I know it's your show, but
Oh,
let me
please
be the
do.
moderator for a second, okay?
Yeah, yeah.
Let me and all the viewers, I know we don't Jason doesn't talk realignment all the time. This is a question for everybody. Whether you like BYU or not, whether you like me or not, this is an open question somebody has to answer. Why in the world do you need conferences to have the best college football playoff?
You don't.
Give me one reason why you need conferences
No, I don't. There is no
to
reason.
have the best brands playing the best college football.
The
I
only
don't
thing that
think
I
you
would
do.
say to it, the only thing that I would say to it is that you better be very careful about continuing to get rid of damn rivalries.
Well, maybe you include rivalries.
Without conferences, maybe you don't have that problem.
You don't have it. Look, it goes away, Jason.
Maybe so.
Imagine it. Project it. No
These
conference.
elite, these conference alliances. Yeah, listen, I think that here's the one thing I would tell you is the reason
Well, the
why
conference.
it's not going to
Sorry, sorry,
happen
sorry.
is because the conferences that we're talking about, the Big Ten and the SEC, think a lot of their conferences.
Right. I'm sorry. So that's taken out of context. People are going to take that. And what I mean is, you need conferences for
Sure.
organization. Conferences
Okay.
will exist, but just to run football,
Right.
not to change basketball, not to change, just to run football, you could build an entire division. And already talking, the A4, right? The big four, the power four, are already talking about taking over all the rulemaking from the NCAA anyway.
And they should.
And if they do, now all of a sudden you can create another division, a division 1, whatever you want to call it, super division. And that is only the best power football brands. And you know what dictates power football is the schools that want to invest the money. The ones that are willing to go out there and spend how much? How much are you willing? How much? What is the pain point for your viewers, for the people who graduate from your school? Oklahoma, how many millions would you pay out of your pocket to run an organization just to be in the upper football league? I would imagine that number is fairly high.
Yeah, yeah, they're going to. Yeah,
And
they're gonna pay
BYU,
it out.
BYU will be in that group.
Absolutely. Oh, I don't listen, I'm gonna tell you now. You know that I've been one of the guys that said BYU is always gonna be is always gonna have a place at the table, just like Notre Dame's always gonna have a place at the table.
I think so now. I wasn't sure 5 years ago.
I think even when they were I think it was hurting you recruiting wise a little bit being independent,
Yeah, it was tough.
but I would but not by a ton. I mean, really think about it. remember a few years back that they were actually in the running to make one of those playoff spots.
Oh, sure. Yeah, no, I mean, look, it's my school, right? But
Right. So
I'm using BYU as just an example. I think Utah could do the exact same
there's a
thing.
lot
I
of
think
Mormons out there, man. There's a lot of LDS faith folks that watch BYU all over the world, though, and that drives numbers. Now,
right.
there's a lot of haters
Yeah.
out there. Don't get me
Sure.
wrong. There's a lot of haters out there, and there's a lot of people that, just like they did in the Big Ten, in not allowing Notre Dame to come in when they wanted to be a part of the Big Ten,
Right.
and because of the anti-Catholic stuff that was going on with Yost and all that stuff at
Long
Michigan,
time ago.
long time ago, but it was going on. It was real.
Yes,
That's the
absolutely.
reason why they want nothing to do with the Big Ten now. Not, and nor do they have to do it. They don't.
No,
They're
Notre
never
Dame.
going to join one if they don't have to.
And that is, see, Notre Dame is the perfect example of why do you need a conference,
Mm-hmm.
right? You can build, and I'm telling you, everybody, I call it a super league, right? I coined the phrase in the world. I was the first one to say it. I've owned it for now a week or so. A super league meaning outside of all the other leagues that currently exist. That
Sure.
is just football. That's where I think we're going. I've talked myself more and more into it, and I think I just don't
But what's the
understand
number though? What is the number?
for each school.
How many
Each,
schools? How many schools will be in this super league?
I think you answered the question yourself. I think it's going to be high. I think it could be anywhere from 64 to 72 schools, covering 2/3 of the United States. When you're only 48, you're exactly right. Like your Ardo, you're only representing roughly a third of the United States. That's not a
Yeah.
big enough number. There's too many senators out there in these small states that can go to Congress and say, nope, not going to do it. We're going to
It's not
take
even
over.
that. I also,
Well, that politics is huge, though, Jason.
I agree with you on that, and that's something I hadn't really brought up. But I'm looking at it from the perspective of this continuing to be a money making deal.
Sure. But just turn it
People,
into money.
look,
That's
Shotty,
it.
for instance, Shotty just said this. Hold on, let me pull up his comment again real quick. Those schools don't have chances at winning the whole thing anyway. That doesn't have anything to do with it.
That's not the point of it. That has
It's
nothing to do
about
with it.
money. People want to see the best play each other at the end of the day. That's
That's
correct.
right.
That part is correct.
Yes.
But here's what I'm going to tell you. Those people aren't going to care if they don't have access. The reason that college football, just like the reason this is my full, this is my belief on it, the whole thing, is that the reason that college football is so beloved is because there is access. It may
Yes.
not be the same, and let's not get it twisted. I've never said that it's fair. I've never said that it's gonna be fair. I've
Right.
never, and because I know that it isn't, right? There,
It
it's
will
just
never
not.
be. There is no fair.
There is no such thing. Fair
No.
is where you judge pigs.
Yes.
That's not what we're talking about.
I love that. I'm going to steal that. That's great.
But the point is, it's not about who can win. If you take away access from the Kansas States and Texas Techs of the world, and the Pitts of the world, and the Syracuses of the world, then now those casual eyeballs that you get at playoff time every year and during bowl season every year stop giving a shit.
That's
If
it.
they know that they have an opportunity to get there
Yeah. They,
and to
they just
have a
want
shot,
access. It's all about access.
then they want to watch, even
Yeah.
if they don't make it. If they never think that they have an opportunity because you've taken away their opportunity because they're not in your league anymore, they're
Right.
going to stop watching the shit.
Yeah.
And you're also going, if you're going to 48 teams, what's what we always talk about? Rivalries. And we're already losing too many of them.
Yes.
But rivalries go by the wayside at 48 teams.
Yeah. I think.
Again, you're killing this golden goose doing it that way.
I have
That's
some
my belief.
insider stuff on this, right? I've talked to Bob Thompson, who is absolutely the GOA of all realignment stuff. You didn't know he's the guy who negotiated the ACC agreement. I interviewed him for over an hour
Bob
last week.
Thompson. Hey, by the way, great show. Yeah, continue on with that.
Did you
Loved
see
it.
that? That
Yes.
was I'm
Fantastic
pretty
stuff.
proud of that. It's like I was a reporter
Fantastic
for
stuff.
5 minutes.
Yeah.
But he told us, he gave us insight, and he basically said, look, the negotiation had to happen for the ACC to continue, right? They needed to just move on.
Yeah.
And the lawsuits and everything was just dragging everything down. So they finally said, fine, 5 years, go out and do whatever you're going to do and become the best you can be, and good luck for you. But what that basically said is, we don't care anymore. ESPN does not care about the ACC. Somebody took me out of context on my show tonight. I didn't say the ACC wasn't worth anything. I said ESPN doesn't care about the ACC. If they cared, they would have propped it up. They would have paid ESPN. Sorry, they would have paid Clemson and
What
Florida
they
State
care
to
about,
shut up.
what
They
they
care
care
about the
about,
SEC.
they care about the SEC, but
They do.
they care about that they have the ACC at a great deal.
Well, they've got the ACC. If the SEC is a great deal, what's it like for the ACC?
Oh yeah,
I mean,
they're
it's
paying out nickels. I mean, they didn't raise anything up. They just raised up those few programs.
Well, what they did is they gave access to Notre Dame, and then they put in those performance bonuses. But those are only
Right.
going to pay out to the top. You're talking just a few brands. So, look, this all comes down to money. You've already said it. The answer is money. Why is it 72 instead of 48? More money. And is it Shoddy that said about the? Is it Shoddy the one that said they're not going to have a chance to win it, so why care? Have the
No, and this
have
is
a
what he's
smaller
saying.
group.
He's saying you don't take their access away; they have a chance to win the championship in
Right.
that
That's
specific
okay.
division, just not the Super League championship. That's the point I'm making, Shoddy. If you don't have access to that bracket,
Yes.
you lose that fan base. I promise
I
you do.
Yeah, and that's millions and millions and millions of casual fans that are just watching.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, you piss them
That's what I'm
off,
saying.
and you're
The
right. You will kill the golden
only
goose.
thing you
There's
can
no
do
doubt
is
about it.
screw this thing up if you're the big boys right now.
There's no doubt about it.
That's the only
No
thing
doubt
you do.
about it.
You don't, and that's why I said, look, I don't even believe. I think that doing 4 auto bids is stupid. Stupid.
Yeah, I just think the
I
bid
think you
thing
give
is
2 to everybody that's in the Power 4. It's gonna, and we're talking about a 5-year deal at that. That's not gonna even take that long. I think you give 2 to all the Power 4, and
yeah.
you're still gonna get 4 or 5 in
Yes, you are.
almost every year, especially if you're going to 14 or 16. I don't think that you need to go that route and guarantee yourself that when you already have all the advantages.
Yeah, I completely, I agree with you there. So,
Look, now what
yeah,
I will
I
say is,
agree.
look, here's where I think it's shaky ground a little bit for the Big 12 and the ACC to fight them on reseeding and whatever they're doing right now, right? Because I don't think that they got the seeding done very well. And I don't, even the selection was, I don't think that SMU belonged at all. I'm fine with Boise, but I don't think they should have gotten a bye ever.
Yeah,
There's no way they should have gotten a
yeah,
bye. And
yeah.
I would tell you that I think Indiana is a joke for them getting in there, right? With their
Yeah.
schedule. Same as SMU.
You
But they only had one loss and you go by that. Here's the thing that I think you have to be
that
careful.
one loss to BYU, and then
Yeah, they had one. They didn't have a signature win. They had 2 signature losses.
Yeah, that's brutal.
Yeah,
Absolutely
I mean,
brutal
it's
last
just,
year.
and I mean, why did they get, whatever, why did they get 2 instead of the Big 12? I don't know. You had 4 teams that were tied atop the Big 12 at the end of the year.
It's broken, Jason. The whole thing
It
is
was.
broken.
Right.
That's
I don't
why if you
mind
go to a Super League, you get rid of all that crap. No more conferences. You go into divisions, play NFL type football, 72 teams, do regional scheduling, keep rivalries, and college football is fixed for the next 20 years. I guarantee you that would be way more balanced and better football than you're getting now, which is 90% argument. It's so stupid. Just qualify for the playoffs. I'm a Seahawks fan, right? Didn't make the playoffs last year. They weren't good enough. If you're not good enough, don't play in the playoff. I mean, it's
Yeah.
that simple.
Yeah.
I don't care what your brand. The brand builds the thing. Brand value builds the structure. Go out and perform, recruit, build culture, spend money. That's what's going to win football games.
I'm not sure I understand what you're saying here, outsider. 2 to all the Power 4 is wild. The championship games will not mean anything, and that goes for any auto bid. Well, but then that's where you start looking at, okay, it would mean something. If it was 2, it would mean something because you're guaranteed that you want to get to that game because that's going to guarantee you a spot in, and the other one wouldn't. We've heard them talk about some of this stuff. We've heard them talk. Shawty, if you would come in here, I'd love to have this conversation with you, but you're not listening to what I'm talking about. It will move the needle the other way. If you take away all those eyeballs that watch it now because they're because they have, even if it's perceived access, they have it. If
Yes.
they don't have even the perception of access, all those eyeballs leave. And that's 3/4 of the country.
Yeah.
The needle may not move up with them in the tournament, and that's debatable, by the way, but it'll definitely go the other way if you don't have 3/4 of the country involved. I'm just saying.
Jason, there's absolutely no doubt about that. You could go, by the way, you mentioned the playoffs and the automated bids and championships don't mean anything. Get rid of the championships.
Can
Right? You mentioned the Big
Sure.
12. You had
Sure.
a phantom championship game because you had 3 or 4 teams that were, first.
Right, and it was
So,
all over,
eh,
and it was weird
so
tiebreakers again.
get rid of the championships and go to subdivision games in each conference. Play for the 2 slots you're talking about, right? Qualify for the thing. We've gotten away from merit in this country. Earn stuff.
And that's what it showed with this whole, and that's where I'm thinking is that I think that I understand the Big 12 and ACC holding the SEC and Big Ten's feet to the fire on this for this year.
Right.
Because they're like, nah, well, why do we do? I mean, right now we are guaranteed one team into the quarterfinals, which gets us an extra X amount of millions of dollars or whatever it is, right? We're guaranteed that. Why would we do that? Why would we give that away when we're guaranteed that? Okay.
For more money. They might do it for money. They could pay them off.
They could.
Yeah.
But the point, I'm not even talking about that though. It's more that if they don't agree to this, then you've got more of an opportunity of these guys saying, okay, well, we are going to do our 4 auto bids. And because I'm not sure that they're going to.
Yeah, I'm still not. The CFP negotiations are still ongoing,
When
right?
they left
Nothing
New
got
Orleans
settled.
and didn't have a decision on that, why wouldn't you have a decision on that?
I think the ACC deal, which came right after it, I think that was the priority. I think they needed to sort
But
that
they were
out.
talking about it.
ESPN.
I know they spoke about it, and they were speaking about this year's playoff too.
I think it's ESPN though, Jason. ESPN owns all of it, right?
Sure. Well, that's why they floated it to Dellinger so that it got out there and they got to get that feedback in that week.
Right. And then 10 days later, they announce an ACC thing, and then you move on. The CFP now can move later in a month or two after got to get through the basketball tournament, so you can't do it in March or the first part of April. But now, latter part of April, May and June, you can come up with an announcement
Which
for
is
14
before the
teams or whatever.
settlement is finished and all
Of
that other
course.
stuff too.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. It'll all sort itself out the next couple of years. Next 5 years are pretty much guaranteed going to be 14, 16, however many slots. Who the hell cares? It's all planned for 2030 now. Everybody's planning for 2030.
It is simulcasted on a Rumble there, Ryman. It is simulcasted on Rumble.
I don't know what's Rumble.
It's the other. I guess you could call it conservative YouTube if you wanted to go there.
Okay.
I haven't known about it for long.
I've never heard of it.
It's just another platform, basically. It's another
Okay.
platform. A lot of political stuff. There's not a ton of sports content on it right now, but it's starting to get there. You should definitely have a channel there.
Yeah, I know it's risky, Jason. Politics and
I don't talk politics. You know that. We're talking.
Yeah, I know. It's
football,
just,
bro. That's it.
I'll think about that. It's an interesting idea. I'll have to run it by Moen. Anyway. Does anybody have any questions about this ACC thing? Because I got it down.
So okay. So,
you might not like what I say, but
basics for us then. Run down the basics for us of what's going on with the ACC now and what you expect coming up.
Well, nobody knows for sure. Bob Thompson told us last week he negotiated this settlement now that basically gives an escape clause for anybody in the ACC to leave in 5/6 years for $75 million. That's what it depreciates to. Right now, I think the number was 168 to leave.
Which is still a lot less than what it was before, right?
$307 million last year. This time last year, we did the analytics. Wild Ute University, look it up on Twitter, did the analysis, and it needed to be at least $300 million, close to $300 million, keep the conference together.
We even heard them
168.
talking 4.5 to 5.
They
Yeah.
wanted 7 from Florida State. It's just ridiculous money, right? But there were people who honestly talked under their breath about possibly doing that desperately to get into the Big Ten or SEC, because over time, Jason, and a 15-year sort of like a bond, that would have paid back. You could bet into the Big Ten, and in 5 years, $100 million to make all that money back. Who the hell cares, right? What conference?
Right.
Problem is, the Big Ten and SEC didn't say, yeah, sure. They didn't go to him silently through third parties and say, we got you, bro. You got this lawsuit settled. We will pick you up. A whole year goes by. Now we are here to the final settlement. It's 168's the number.
Right.
And it
If they
depreciates every
wanted,
year.
if either one of those conferences wanted them,
They would have taken them last year. Yes.
Yeah.
Especially ESPN, because they can
Florida State
negotiate
is
against
diluted.
itself.
Yeah.
Yeah. The whole thing's screwed up. So now the ACC is sitting there on a timer. Everybody knows Florida State wants out. As Florida State goes, North Carolina definitely wants something different. They have politics with North Carolina State, but all
Can I
that'll
ask
work
you a
itself
question
out.
real quick?
Sure.
Let me ask you, chime in with this question. How do they really want out now, though?
Who?
Florida State and Clemson. Now the number's down. Now they're getting what they asked for, which was higher revenue. Right?
Well,
they're not so far behind.
They have to win.
Well, of course they do, but but they're getting unequal share without it's not just on the performance. They're giving them more of the pie.
Because they play Notre Dame. They don't get any more money just on its own. They get more money because they play Notre Dame.
Okay. In any event, they're giving an unequal rev to them
through different methods. Yes, performance bonuses and other things. Yes,
right. So, and it's certainly going to be easier for you to make the playoff from there.
You would think,
right?
But that's not. It's not about that.
They got what they asked for. Why would they want to leave now? I don't think because here's the thing. I don't think that the SEC wants Clemson or FSU. I think that they want Carolina and Virginia, and that's really it.
The answer is, it's all perception. They want to be considered elite. To be elite right now, you have to be in the P2. That is the Big Ten and the SEC. I don't care who you are. Minnesota right now is in an elite conference, and you could do all the arguments you want with Greg Pflugar, but whether they are supposed to be there or not, the Big Ten and the SEC are the big dogs, and UNC wants no part of anybody that doesn't consider them a big dog. That means they are going to be in a big Power 2 conference. Same thing with Florida State. Same thing with Clemson. They and Miami certainly. They believe, their perception of themselves is they want to be in these leagues because they are the bomb. Everybody else is trying to catch up to them. It's a perception game. It's human interaction. It's you and me talking. I think Oklahoma is a blue blood. Other people might not look at that, but that is the perception. It's the exact same thing they do with the power conferences. That's it. I don't think the money is a number. The money's
but they're definitely making quite a bit more than the other conferences.
Oh, sure. And they'll use that money for different things, infrastructure, NIL, all that stuff. That's fine. But you could be the richest North Carolina. North Carolina is in debt, but they make a lot of money, right? A lot of money.
Oh, yeah, dude. The Jordan brand.
Yeah, that's like number one,
right? Hill brand, right?
Yeah, that's like number one. And yet, does that money get them access to the P2? It doesn't right now, does it? So the money does nobody any good. Everybody's complaining about the money, but money isn't what this is about. This is about everybody wanting to be in the club. And the club right now is 16 and 18 teams. I don't care who you are. That is it. And everybody else wants to be there. Everybody. Every single other school in the country wants to be in there. Nothing else really matters.
Yeah.
So that's it. That's it. It's the ACC's now on this timer 5 years, 2030. Who the hell knows what's going to happen? The question is, and you asked at the very beginning, does anybody move in the next 5 years? I just can't see a reason to do it. If I'm SEC, why spend more money for a school that I'm already getting at half rate?
Yeah. Well,
I can get a Florida State brand.
I was saying this earlier. If you know you can leave in 2031 when the Big Ten is renegotiating, or they're going to go into a new
29,
contract,
30.
right?
Yeah, yeah.
29, 30, you can get in and make that decision to when the new contract starts. You're there.
Right.
It feels like that's when you're going to do it because again, if you're only 10, 12, 15 million behind the SEC and the Big Ten now, and because of the way that you're going to recoup that money and whatever they're doing,
right,
then it's an easier. And then if you get in the playoff, then you're really going to recoup that money. You know what I mean? You are going to look at what Notre Dame for getting to the final. They made an extra 20 million just on that.
But they don't have to share it.
Facts.
In Florida State's in the same position. They have to share it with 16 other schools.
That's true. That's true. It's not exactly the
Notre
same.
Dame is. You cannot bring Notre Dame. I don't know where Coach is right now, but you cannot bring Notre Dame into any rational conversation with the college football playoff right now because they can get whatever they want. They can go wherever they want. They are the big dog. If you want to talk about somebody that really can drive their own thing, nobody else can do it. Ohio State can't do it. Alabama can't do it. And that's it.
Yeah. Hey, Sooner Texas trying to get me wound up in here. I do never talk politics in here, bro.
Yeah,
you know really, better than this.
That's dangerous.
I never ever talk politics in here. You will not know what I am as far as politically speaking wise.
Neilio's got it though. That comment you just had.
Yeah, Virginia, he is right. Yeah, absolutely.
He wants to be part of something, right? They want to be part of something big.
Yeah.
And their conference just told everybody they don't think they're worth anything, basically.
Yeah.
They're going to subsidize it.
He's saying they don't want any part of the SEC, though. They do completely fit into the Big Ten.
That's not I think, those are arbitrary questions. It's going to come down to the media partners, whether they want to spend. Again, everybody just get this, $70 million. If your school can bring $70 million to the table, you will qualify for the SEC or the Big Ten. If you bring $1 less, those schools will have to take less money, or you have to take a less share. And now if we come back to the perception issue, does Florida State want to be perceived to have taken a half share to join the Big Ten or the SEC? Today, probably not, but maybe in a month they change their mind.
Right.
Maybe in a month they say, yeah, we'll take a half share, get tickets now. We'll pay the money. And
then they got to pay up to get out. I don't know. Yeah, you could be right, but Shawty, this isn't okay. We're not saying the same thing because you're talking about a smaller and reducing the size down and not having any of these teams involved. I don't know that they're going to ever be a power two. I think that you're always going to need a third league. Unless they just become two conferences and they go to 64 to 70, whatever the number is, 72. Right. But I don't think that you can stop at 48 or 50, whatever you want. I don't think you can do that. I think that you have to go to, at the very least, you've 60. Got to go to 64. You have 60, to be 2/3.
Yeah, I agree. That's half. But yeah, I agree. It has to be. I think it has to be more than half.
Yeah, I think it has to be more than half.
That's my perception about the whole.
Well, and people forget that the Big 12 acts like it's a big basketball conference, and it is a good basketball conference. I'm not hating on the Big 12 before I throw this out there, but what they really love is football, and so we're talking about a section of the country, by and large, that is totally about football, and they would be the most left out of the deal at 48.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, there's no question about that.
That's a large amount of people that are going to watch the damn shit.
Yeah, there's no doubt.
You cannot do that. You can't do it. And this is where ESPN has come out and said it. And they may not be saying it publicly, but it's been leaked publicly that they've said it to the SEC and the Big Ten. No, you cannot do that. If you alienate 3/4 of the country, you kill the whole thing. And I think it's a fact. So it's not about winning the shit.
No. It's not even
about winning it. It's not about being able to win it.
No.
It's about having access to be able to play in it, also get some of the fruits of getting into the tournament, that kind of stuff, the extra money, all that other stuff, and the clout that helps you. Listen, just getting in the NCAA tournament definitely helps schools out. The longer they stay in, the more people come and enroll in their colleges.
Yes.
It'd be the same thing. It's the same shit here. Arizona State was a nothing program as far as everybody was concerned coming into last year. They were expected to finish last.
Yes.
And they won the shit.
Yes. NIL, baby. Culture. That's what
Just
wins
changes
football
everything.
games. It absolutely does.
Stevie G. What's
Yeah.
up, guys? It will just be the teams that matter financially at the end of the day that will be in the Power 2. No,
That could happen. I don't think it
all the
will.
teams that matter in the Power 2 at the end, if there is a Power 2, will be all of the teams from the Power 4. Pretty much.
I would generally agree with that. I think there's some spots. I think Boise State could earn their way in. They've been so good for 20, plus
Yeah.
years. You could have a Memphis, USF if they step up. There are opportunities. One option you might have, and again, people aren't going to like this either, but you could have a promotion relegation model too, where people actually qualify to get in. But if they don't play well enough, they drop out. I'm not saying that's going to happen. That's very low odds, but 64 to 72, 60, I think is the number. 3 conferences, 20 schools each. I think
I think
that's
it's going to be
plus
24.
Notre Dame. So
That
that's
puts it at
61.
72, right?
I would be happy with 72.
I think it's got to be 72. Or
Yeah,
64 at the least. But
yes, yeah.
But yeah, I don't think, because right now you're looking at, and I don't know that the SEC wants to expand at all, but I certainly know they don't want to really go beyond 2 to 4 at the
I
very
completely
most.
agree with that.
But
Completely
so
agree.
I can see them saying 20, but
Yeah.
but then they don't really care about it being the same size either. You know what I mean? I don't think that that's part, but I think that no matter which way you look at it, there's got to be a third conference in that, no matter what. Which I do believe if they go to that and they get it to, let's say you get it to 64-72, now you actually are back to what it was before, where it's a more regional thing.
Yes.
You're going to see these teams more region. You're going to see a lot of these. You could see more of these rivalries live on because of the fact that they're all playing for the same thing. They'll have to somehow even up these schedules. Things like, there's going to be some things that are going to happen regardless of conferences, no matter what.
There's absolutely no doubt about that.
And so to me, and I said this years ago, but Shadi, that's not what I ever said as far as ESPN. Look, ESPN is what they are, and I don't always love everything that they do. I'm telling you what they said, what they're saying to the SEC and Big Ten right now is, you guys are making a mistake by doing 4 auto bids guaranteed. They're saying it. And I think that if even they're telling you that's a bad idea, you got to listen. You got to listen there, because they know what the numbers are coming in money-wise. And they know where their viewers are coming from. A lot of these views are, perceived views or estimated views kind of stuff when it comes to television. It's not like YouTube, where for sure how many people are watching you.
Right.
But they know how many people are watching. They know. There's no estimation in their mind, guaranteed. So
No, it's
they're
not a
saying it,
guess.
and listen, guys, you can let me go ahead and drop that link from my column in there for you guys, because I'm just saying that you definitely should take a look at what I'm talking about in that. I'm not saying that, look, I'm an SEC guy because Oklahoma's an SEC program.
Right.
But I'm just telling you, in my opinion, you just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Don't kill the golden goose. That's what I would
No,
say.
man. Just because you can doesn't mean you should, man. And that's just where I'm at on it. And so I'm gonna drop that in the chat there. Make sure you guys go check that out after we're done. Whoa. Oh, I thought I'd lost myself. I
Your
dropped the
camera went off for a second, but
yeah, I think I hit I hold on.
mute or something.
No, when I pasted okay. I pasted it pasted my, because when I made the window for me, I made one for you as well.
Oh,
And
okay.
so I must have pasted another one on top of myself is what it did.
Okay. All right. Well, I gotta go, Jason.
Not
This,
listening to shit.
I love giving you all the information you want to know. Happy
Man,
to
I
come on
appreciate it, dude.
anytime.
I think that I've got a pretty good feel for it, I think, but I know I don't follow it near like you guys do. So I wanna make
Oh,
sure that
you do a great job.
when we start talking about it and stuff, I always wanna hear from you guys, and I think JJ does a great job with it. I think there's a handful of folks around the country that get it,
Right.
and from all the angles, right?
Yeah, we don't always agree either, right?
Oh, no, I know,
Yeah.
and that's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, who
Absolutely
cares?
is okay.
Yeah, yeah.
I wouldn't do it if everybody agreed with me.
No, well, nobody would care. You know what I
Exactly.
mean? No, it wouldn't be something worth talking about
There's
if
no
it was
doubt.
all something that you could agree on, but
Yep, you got it.
that's how I feel about it anyway. But hey, man, I appreciate you coming in, Bomber.
You bet. It was great to see you. We
Tell
will
everybody how
see.
to find you before you leave, and
Uh,
I'll drop it there for you as well in the description, folks.
I appreciate that. Just could you post my name up again so we could see it underneath the comment,
Yes, sir.
just so everybody knows what I'm talking about.
I do.
College Football Mafia. Find us on YouTube. Those are my Twitter handles. We cover obviously Big 12 because BYU, but then all of college football, realignment, and we don't make stuff up. So come on over if you want to actually see facts and figures. All we have videos that cover all the money stuff I was talking about. We actually have the data to back all those statements up. So yeah, I just encourage you to come over. I have a show tomorrow night, and we're going to talk with Colorado, and we're going to talk about ACC madness times 5, I think. So that'll be 8 p.m. Eastern. Just go to College Football Mafia on YouTube. Thanks, Jason. I appreciate you.
Hey, man, no
Always.
problem. Thanks for coming in, brother.
You bet. We'll talk to
Have
you
a
soon.
good
Bye
one.
bye, everybody. See ya.
Bye, brother.
Peace.
See you. Nathan Bomber Brown from the Big 12 and College Football Mafia. No, what are you talking about, Shawty? That what are you even saying that I said about ESPN? What did I say about them? I'm not telling you that I'm in love with ESPN because I'm not. What I'm telling you is if ESPN is telling their league, the SEC, that if it would benefit the SEC for them to take over the entire country and get rid of 3/4 of the programs in FBS from the championship level, if that was going to help, they would absolutely tell them to do that. They're telling them not to. Why do you think that is, Shawty? Why do you think that is? Think for a second. Think for a second. You're my boy and all, but you're way missing the boat here. Because they know that you're going to kill the golden goose that way. If it was going to help the SEC, you can bet your ass they would do it. They're telling them, no, don't do that. Explain to me why you think that. Explain to me why you think that they would do that otherwise. It has nothing to do with what I think about ESPN. Has nothing to do with what I think about ESPN. If it was going to benefit the SEC to eliminate 3/4 of the FBS schools by going to a 48 program super league, just 48, which being just the Big Ten and the SEC, and cutting out everybody else. If it was going to benefit the SEC or ESPN for that matter to do that, they would absolutely tell the SEC to kill the rest of those conferences to become a power 2. And they would be telling the Fox the same thing. The fact that they're not telling them to do, in fact, they're warning against it, tells you that it's a bad idea to do it. Exactly what I'm getting at. It's why I wrote the column. Yeah, man, JJ's my guy. Love JJ. That's what I'm saying. Hey, man, Neilio, appreciate you coming in, my guy. Oh, you went to the Big 12 tournament? Nice. How'd they look? Did they win? Have a good one, Neilio. Thanks for coming in. What else we got here? Let me see. All right. Any other questions about that stuff? I'm not telling you that. Look, and I just think it's not, just so we understand, I'm going to let you know right now, the Big 12, in my opinion, has less of a chance, and the ACC still has almost no chance to win a national championship, in my opinion. Almost zero. I don't think that's ever going to be, it's never going to be the aim of the SEC or the Big Ten or anybody else to make it more fair. I think you still have your 10, 12, 15 programs that can probably win if they build it in a certain way over a certain period of time. And none of them are probably going to be out of those two conferences unless you look at Clemson / Florida State, whatever, right? Aside from that. But they're going to be one of the programs that's opted into this thing if you go to 48, because they still have to add 14 teams to these two leagues to get to a 48-team league and be just keeping it within the SEC and the Big Ten. Hey, Logan, thanks for coming in, my guy. Appreciate that. Thank you. That's all I'm saying. No, I do think that they can, but I'm also telling you that I don't think that they're a forever ACC program. And on top of that, they're able to get the money. They're making closer to SEC Big Ten money now because of the settlement that they just came up with. So yes, they can still win it. In the end, there's only a few of those that can, though. And I don't think that there's certain teams in the SEC and the Big Ten that can win it. I just don't. I mean, even though they will have the money to theoretically, you should be able to compete. In the end, I don't think that you can make up the ground if you're Vanderbilt that gets you to a national championship level. I don't. And same for Mizzou, by the way. I know that they think that they, are on that level. They're not. They're not. But I'm not a fan of the super conference thing either because I think that the further you go away from what we've always seen, the regionalization. Now, if you go to 72 teams super conference, and that would add at least a third conference in there, if not keeping 4, right? But it won't really matter because what'll end up happening is they may have a conference or whatever, but they're going to be playing more of I think that they'll play more of a what's the word I'm looking for? A balanced schedule for everybody. I think that it goes that way. And I think that a big part of it will stay with being rivalry games and things like that, because that is super important. And I think that that's what makes college football, what makes people love college football the way they do. A lot of it is because of rivalries. So do I think that in the end, I think that the super conference idea, now, again, I don't think it ever goes to 2. I think it could. I don't really know how it'll be made up, but I think that if you go to 64 or 72 teams and call it a super conference, okay, fine. Now 2/3 of the country is represented in your little club. So by doing that, you keep all the eyes on the sport. That's what I think. Any other questions on that? Let me take a look at where we are here in the live stream. On YouTube, we've had over 350 views. We got 35 likes. That's about just 10% on the money. Appreciate that. We could always use more. We appreciate it. The free way to make sure that you're keeping us on the air is to make sure you hit that like button and share us, man. It's free. It helps us out a lot. You can always super chat by using Cash App or Venmo. We have both. I'll make sure I stick that in there for you guys as well. It's in the description. Also, you can always use the Cash App right there that's next to the thumbs up button or the subscribe button to make a donation there. We'd appreciate that. Look, like I said, the easiest way to make sure that you take care of us is just to go ahead and hit the like button, man, and share us around with your friends. Appreciate that. Did Sark talk about tampering? Yeah, he's bitching. He's upset that people think that that's what it's about. He's a little pissy about it. So, yeah, they do the tampering. Look, I think everybody tampers. I don't think there's any two ways around it. But he's, for whatever reason, he thinks it's. Well, I guess I know what it is. It's because Rule is taking such hell over all that stuff. Yeah. One thing I like about the conference is having SEC. Yeah. Yeah, listen. I think that overall, I think you got to be careful. Yeah, I went on late. So we've been going for about an hour and a half now. But no, Scott. What's up, Scott? Good to see you, man. Noyd, Nathan Campbell, Riley, 2-0 SEC, Sooner, Texas, Neilio. Thank you for coming in, Neilio. Shoddy, shit talker. Gons, what's up, my guy? Good to see you. Stephen G. Satterfield. Let's see. I hadn't said hi to everybody. BL Webb. That's in our Rumble feed there. I think that may be Ryman Lemon for some reason. Outsider Sports, man, I appreciate you coming over here as well, checking us out. Harvey Johnson. Riley could recruit the best in the world and still never win a natty, he says. I think that, I don't know. He's never really had a defense with him, and he's got guys that they should be pretty good on defense, but I'm not. I'll buy it. I'll believe that shit when I see it. Sooner in Texas. Mikael Stevens, the big-time 2027 running back, will be in Norman this Wednesday and Thursday. Mikael, thanks for coming in, my man. It's his son, Mikael Steven Jr. from the SIP. You guys saw him on here with me and Coach Den a few times, I'm sure. Yeah, man, excited about him. You gonna talk him into coming to? Are you guys OU guys, or what do you think, Mikael? Yeah, 64. A lot of people saying 64 is a number. I agree. Nate, what's up, Nate? SC, Logan Licky's gone now. TP, I didn't get to see you in there earlier. OU Revenge Tour. Mac Swearingen. What's up, Mac? Seen you in a while. Kimberly K, haven't heard her in here in a while. Your Tinder date is here. Enjoy. What's up, NIL Killed Wazoo? What have you heard of Mama Tear? Is he exactly what you thought? He's kicking ass, apparently. And the guy that you were so surprised about me posting a short about there, our guy Giovanni Gibson, is already his favorite receiver, according to what we're hearing out of practice. Killing it. Giovanni's a bad dude. This is the reason, that's why I was saying earlier, guys, you can't, some of these, listen, man, it's so, and you know what, I heard this on another show the other day too. In fact, I heard this on Coach Smook, and then we're talking about it. He had, I forget the guy's name. Really good show, though. You guys got to go over there and check it out. They were talking a lot about the recruiting services and stuff, and it's so easy to, I think to me, the 30 top guys, which are the 5 stars, and that's what everybody thinks about, just those guys. But no matter what, even if you got the amount you think you should get if you're going to win a natty or whatever, you have to get more of those top 250 4-star guys. Those are the ones that are so important. No, we're not giving Mateer back. He ain't going back. Not happening. What's going on? Are y'all hurting over there or what? You have to get those other dudes too. And that's where I think, and they were talking about that, and this is an Alabama channel that they were talking about that on. Norman, you better get off of that. They're talking about that on an Alabama channel, and knowing that, they do well in recruiting so much, but you've got to expand it out there. That's why I think it's so big, the Nagy thing, because it's more, you're going to identify more of those guys that they fit the build, the size, speed build and stuff like that. And I think that that's important. So is what it is. But I think that you can find guys that, and they have found guys that, this is why I believe, nobody else, nobody outside of Norman or this fan base believes that Oklahoma is really a contender. I think that there's more people that are talking less shit about them being trash, but they still don't really believe. And I think a lot of that has to do with the schedule. Make no mistake, the schedule's brutal. Not to say they can't beat every team on that schedule, but they're not going to beat every team on that schedule. And the hope is that you can get no more than 3 losses. I think where I believe that Texas can't afford 3 losses with that schedule, Oklahoma can probably get in with 3. As long as one of them isn't like, one of their crappy games. But they really don't have any bad games in the SEC. They really don't. Yeah, sorry, Wazoo. I don't think they're trying to give him back. Arbuckle says no. With NIL pay to play, do you think over the next 10 years or so we will start seeing smaller schools get rid of football simply because they can't afford to compete? Well, as far as like Division II and stuff like that, I don't think anybody that's FBS you could see some FCS guys for sure that, yeah, maybe. It's hard to get used to the new college football. No, I agree with that. Identifying players is way different than acquiring them. What do you mean by that? Explain. Why do we have to pay to get that short? Who do we have to pay to get that shorthorn schedule? Well, theoretically, now I'm saying theoretically because I'm not, I'll believe the shit when I see it. Theoretically, it should switch. It should switch after this season completely. Now, other than, so you look at are there any common games? There's not any common teams on those schedules. Are there? Doesn't seem like it. But if you go to a 9-game schedule, you're going to have your protected rivals. So it won't be completely a swap, right? But if you're not going to go to 9 games, which I don't know that they are, I think that they will because they're going to have it the way they want it starting in 2026. They're going to go to 9 because they could get their 4 automatic. They're going to try to do it. Now, again, I'm telling you, I don't think that they should, but I think that they're going to. I do think they're going to. They do have yes. It's according to pretty much everybody, it's the toughest schedule in the country. Florida right behind it, and then behind that is South Carolina. As far as like smaller schools, to answer your question, sorry, Gons. Yeah, I think so. I think that you could. I think that you have anyways throughout the years, right? I think you have throughout the years anyway. It just depends. I mean, it's just like in JUCO. There's only so many JUCOs that have football. Hmm. You can find a great player all day, but if you can't get them to come to your school, it's irrelevant. Okay. No, that's not wrong. But who are we talking to? I mean, here's the thing though. A lot of those guys that you find that are not, this is what I'm talking about when it comes to that. There's only really the top 250 that everybody, that even if the most advanced, the guy that follows recruiting the most follows those guys. Right. And I would tell you that there ain't no damn way I know all the names in the top 200. I probably don't know all the names in the top 100. I don't really care. Right. It's not where I'm at. But and here's the thing, is because I feel like I'm not saying that the recruiting services have no value. I'm saying it's not as much value as the guys on the staff that are going out identifying these guys. These recruiting services, they don't even look at all of them. They don't even see film on all of them. They go by what they've heard or what camps they've been to and what other people have said about them. So, I mean, to me, I think it's a definitely an inexact science. They miss on a lot of guys. There's a lot of 5 stars that get missed on. The biggest 5-star that gets missed on is the offensive tackle, by the way. So you can't just hang everything that you got on that. Now, there is that blue chip ratio that does matter. And I think more times than not, if you've got somebody that fits that size and they've been offered by somebody, they're probably going to get into that. They could get into that blue chip ratio. You're going to have to find enough of those guys. Now that goes into the top 350, whatever it is. I don't know exactly where the cutoff is for 4-star and 3-star or whatever. Who do you think our protected rivals will be other than Texas? Ross Dellinger before had said that it was going to be Florida and Mizzou. I could give a shit about Mizzou, but I think that's a given. I don't know that Florida is. I almost feel like I don't think it'll be Alabama because I think that a rivalry is forming with Alabama. Particularly if Oklahoma can win another one, if they can beat them again, there's going to be more of a rivalry there. And I think that there's a rivalry forming for sure with LSU as well. And I think that's why they played that game for 2 years also. Maybe Tennessee. I don't know. Feels like Tennessee could be another one as well. But if you're looking at the top tier of the SEC, which is what they're trying to say, that you would get 2 from the upper tier, the upper half, I should say, and 1 from the lower half. Mizzou be in the lower half because they are in the lower half. And then it'd be LSU, Texas, which they expect to be in the top half. So that one is all the way protected. That's the one you're guaranteed isn't going anywhere. But like, I think that you need to go to 9 because I think it's ludicrous to think that you wouldn't play Texas and Texas A&M again every year when you have them in the same conference again, whether they want to or not. Yeah, not every kid goes to those camps. They can't all afford it, man. They can't all afford it. See, if you did Arkansas, Mizzou, and LSU, now if you were Mizzou crappy, like Mizzou is, then they could get that as their 3 protected rivals. If you're considered, they looked at what they did when they looked at it, apparently, was the wins over the last 10 years, total wins, all that stuff. And they're going off of So you have the top half of the SEC in wins and the bottom half of the SEC in wins. So obviously Oklahoma's in the top half. So they have to play, two of their rivals have to be top half guys. And then one is the lower half because Mizzou wasn't in the top half in wins over the last decade. Apparently. I don't know that Tennessee was either, but it should be Arkansas, Mizzou, and LSU. Yeah. Here's what I would say about that, though. I understand that's a regional thing that's closer. But you realize that Oklahoma has only played Arkansas like a handful of times? I don't even know if it's a full handful of times, ever. So there's not really a rivalry there at all when it comes to football. And then I mean, I would rather, I mean, I'm good with LSU for sure. But it's not going to be one of those teams would be out either way, Nick, because Texas is never coming off of their rivalry. And why would you want it to? You don't think Texas is Oklahoma's rival? Yeah, I agree with this, but I would tell you I don't agree with that. Or I don't think it. I agree with you. I don't think that's what's going to completely happen. I'll believe it when I see it. No, I don't. Nah. The legislature's not going to let them go anywhere. Texas legislature is not going to ever let that happen again. There's too much money that says no. I mean, you've got your bitchy ass people over at A&M and stuff like that, but they don't have, there's enough people that want that shit to be played. And so, no, that's not happening again. I do not believe so. I know there's a lot of fans that would love to have that. They just, I don't know. They're probably worse than Okie Light when it comes to that little brother shit. I don't know, man. That's tough. It's the same, probably. Yeah, they're wacky. And there's certainly that part of the fan base that would fucking hate it. But I think they got to play and I hate both of them, and I think they should play every year. 100% believe they should. I'm just telling you, I don't think that, as far as that schedule is concerned, I don't think it's going to complete. Just going to the 3 protected rivals is always going to keep. It's going to be a little different. So we're not going to completely swap that schedule. But I don't know that they're going to give right now. LSU, they were saying that what Dellinger's report was, and that was coming from inside the SEC, or at least what their early. I mean, they could change their mind, but it was Dellinger's reporting, and they leak everything to him. So he was saying that it was LSU was going to be a permanent rival with Alabama, and then Alabama would obviously still have Auburn and Tennessee, which kind of pissed off Nick Saban, if you remember correct, right? But so LSU wouldn't remain, and they already have a rivalry game with A&M, so it wouldn't be us, would be the third one. And that's why they were saying it's going to be Florida, which I don't really have a problem with that. Every other year in the swamp, all right. I think that they haven't been great the past, 8 to 10 years or whatever. They've had their moments, but they haven't been great all the time. But that's a big time program at Florida. I think it'd be fun. I think that's a fun rivalry. It could, and they definitely, their fans are nutty enough that it would turn into a rivalry between the fans, because they talk at least as much shit as anybody I've ever seen. But except for, I think the biggest shit talkers that we encountered this year was Tennessee for sure. And I think Florida's right on par with them when it comes to their fans. Professor will start busting my chops on text messages sometimes. And so does, Shelton does a lot too, but they just over nothing. They'll just get started all the time. And we haven't even played them yet. Yep. We were talking about that yesterday. Yesterday morning. That Governor Stitt needs to get his ass to work. Mm-hmm. You've got 3 so far that are introduced bills like that. Have we ever beat LSU? We haven't lately. I can tell you that. We haven't in games that damn matter. We haven't. No. Let's see. No, 0-3. No, 2-1 edge. Oklahoma. Wait, let me see. No, they're 0-3, I think. Lost to them in the Sugar Bowl. Lost to them in the Fiesta Bowl. In 04, and then obviously the semifinal in 2024. That was brutal. No, wait a minute. That's not even this stupid Google AI. Hold on. No, 0-3 according to Oklahoma's website. 0-3. Well, I think that's one of the few SEC teams though that we don't have a winning record over. Pretty sure it is. We will this year, Stephen G says. It's going to be a tough win. It's going to be a tough one to win. But I know there's going to be liable to be some hard hitting if Nick's in the game. Sounds like there's a few hard feelings around there. Yeah, I don't know if I don't know, man. I think that's one of the ones that if I'm expecting losses, it'd be that one. I just think they're going to be really good. They did lose Bo Davis. I don't know how much better they'll be on the D line. But they were better last year defensively than they had been. There was times that they weren't very good at all, though. We do get them at home. Yeah. And see, I mean, you look at, well, the first time they played them was in the Sugar Bowl with, and it was for the national championship, right? And they played pretty close to Saban and them. And then it wasn't very close but I think that LSU team that they lost to in 2019 was the best, but one of the best college football teams in history. One of the best. Right. Then I would say this last year, yeah, I mean, ill-equipped. They lost both up, yeah. Yeah, they've got a newer line, but their offensive line's pretty good, though. I think they had depth there. They're going to still have one of the better lines, but I do agree. Yeah. The one thing is that they've got a quarterback that's in his second year as a starter. I think that you expect him to take a step forward. And as far as their receivers are concerned, they pull a new one out of the swamp every year, and he's the same. And, I don't know what to expect from Nick. I mean, I think if Nick's healthy, he's going to be a problem for people in the SEC. I think he is. We got to see him be healthy first. We'll see, though. Do you feel there will be a field rushing this year? I hope not. Yeah, their defense wasn't bad either, bro. Their defense wasn't a slouch either. But yes, the offense was. I mean, you can go back and look at some of the other offenses in college football history and compare them up. But yeah, I think overall, I mean, they just guy after guy after guy after guy that they could run at you, man. They were disgustingly good. Disgustingly good. Burrow was as good a year as you've ever seen from a quarterback. But I mean, you had two guys that are both of them are considered in the top 5 of wide receivers in the NFL. Randy Moss's kid played not that much, but he was there. You know, I mean, they were loaded. Scott, what are you talking about? Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's what I was saying. They're 0-3. 0-3. Hopefully they get one this year. Overall, against the SEC, Oklahoma has a winning record. They have a winning record against Alabama. They have a winning record against everybody else. Pretty much, I think. I don't think there's anybody that they have a losing record against. Aside from them, and I guess Texas, it's a losing record, but that's all going back to, back when the game was different, before integration, because they certainly haven't had the winning record against us in the last 50 years. Man, I was like, old Teddy was gushing over Giovanni, wasn't he? He was, yeah. Yeah, I'm not a fan of LSU either. Not a fan of LSU. Especially, I mean, I respect LSU, but they've talked an awful lot of shit over the last year or so. A lot of their creators and stuff have done it, I didn't like the way that Matt Moscano was talking shit to Jackson during SEC media days. I thought it was kind of lame. Turns out he was right, but that doesn't make it okay. It don't make it okay. What else? I'm going to see how many we got in here still. Down to 44 in here. We got 152 watching us on X. Guys, if you're watching us on Twitter, man, please jump over. Do me a favor, jump over and check us out here on YouTube. It helps us a lot. It helps with our algorithm here. Man, we sure appreciate that. And this is the only place that we're monetized as well. So, here in Rumble, but I don't even know how that works. But I'd appreciate it if everybody would jump over. It's on youtube.com/at HOF-CFB. I'll put it in put it in here in the comments as well. Make sure you jump over just to hit the like button, man. We'd appreciate it. All right, man. Well, I'm going to check on Coach and get ready for the day. What else we got here? Let me see. Another OU podcast has been saying that they're missing the benchmarks at the Cotton Bowl, huh? Which podcast are we talking about? I hadn't seen anything about that yet, but I can tell you after being at the Red River last year, the Cotton Bowl sucks. I don't know that you have to go to home and home. I don't know why you wouldn't play it in Jerry World. I know they won't. I know they've been saying they don't want to. But I think that they need to figure it out at the damn Cotton Bowl, though, for sure. It's getting tougher. I can tell you that it's been progressively worse year after year. Year after year. Okay. Well, I believe them. Yeah, I think that they're pretty plugged in around there. Yeah. Mr. and Mrs. Jones. I like them, man. They're cool people. They're doing renovations, but they have been missing out on what they're saying is they're missing out on where they're supposed to be with those renovations, which Let me just tell you this, man. They were out of fucking water before the end of the first quarter. And it was hot as shit. And it's still got one damn way to funnel people in. Or maybe it's two, but from where you end up having to be, where you have to park, you're only coming in from the one side. It's ridiculous trying to get in. Like, for instance, I was supposed to be, and I did meet Big Mike there, right? Well, he got there an hour and a half before I did and got into the stadium 10 minutes before I did because of how it was trying to funnel in. It's like herding a bunch of damn cattle into one little area, right? One canyon. One way in, one way out. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And the amenities, I mean, listen, man, I'm all for the Cotton Bowl stuff. I understand the history, all that stuff. I've been to the Cotton Bowl for the Cotton Bowl before. Love it. In this day and time, there's no reason why they shouldn't have that better. It should be much better. And they need to staff it better as well. It's not good. It's just not good. And on top of that, man, it's in the hood, bro. It'd be great if you could play a nighttime game sometimes, right? They'll never do it there at the Cotton Bowl at night, and nor should they. It's sketchy in the afternoon to get out of there. A little sketchy walking in and out, man. Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. That's a good. The only game that's played there is OU in Texas, correct? Correct. But they're the ones that signed the contract. Here's what I would tell you, though. I don't know that they can get. Obviously, they're not holding up their end of the deal to have it contracted to be played there. So there is probably a way out of that as far as that goes. But I think it would take lawsuits and a bunch of other shit. So if they can, they're probably that's being pushed out there. I guarantee you that's being pushed out there so that they move their ass a little bit. What you had to do. Well, they have people are. I mean, they use up their parking lots and all that other, or their homes even. I parked at the. There's a school right down that road, or it used to be a school, I guess. I think it still is, but. And there was somebody that you had to pay for it. I mean, but it wasn't terribly. And they actually stayed there and watched all the cars. Mine didn't get broken into. So I was a little shocked and concerned though. But I was closer, I was closer than I expected to be quite honest with you. And had I have had more time, I would have certainly gotten an Uber. I would have stopped somewhere and gotten an Uber if I'd have had more time. It was just I got a late start to get there. It's sketchy down there, man. Definitely sketchy down, and you would not want to be down there at night. And they do now. I will say they do have ways to like bus you in and like stuff like that. The train is around there. There's ways that if you're staying there doing the overnight thing, which not everybody does, but if you can, they have a park and ride place to where you can go park and ride, do some stuff like that. But again, I literally got there an hour before the game. I showed up or 2 hours, 2.5 hours, but it took, I think I got into the stadium with about 10 minutes left before kickoff. It's a bit sketchy. It's a bit sketchy. Knowing that I was getting away from town late. I mean, I knew when I left. I packed very little. Everything that I knew that I just took everything that I knew I was going to need, which was not much. So you can't get in there with very much. It was not, it was hot. But the fact that they ran out of freaking water in the first quarter and never came back with it, it was not good. And then, you got people with their water bottles going out there to hit the water fountains. I didn't. I went to beer after that, and I'm not even a big beer drinker anymore. I don't. But I trusted the beer a lot more than I trusted those pipes in that water. You can. But that's the thing is where do you, I mean, you have to hit the right one and at the right time and all that stuff. And those parking lots, those park and ride places for the train, they can be stacked up too. You can't just park in some hotel that's nearby or anything like that if you're not staying in it. It's just a pain in the ass. Playing at Jerry World, that's something that the schools have no interest in it for whatever reason. They have no interest in that. Oh wow, I didn't realize they had played that many times. Only 3 times since the 70s. Okay, maybe that's what I'd heard. See, so that's yeah, man. Sheesh. Because yeah, they were a Southwest Conference team, and that's why they played Texas so much because they were in the same league. They probably do, bro. They probably do. The bathrooms are yeah. Well, the good news was you didn't have enough to drink to where you had to piss much. So no, I think I only went once. Oh, Texas beat them 100-0 in the 1940s. Oh no, Sooner in Texas. OU beat them 100-0 in the 1940s, and they still hate them for it. Yeah, I understand. They're what's their record with Texas? They're actually pretty competitive with Texas, right? You went in 2001, huh? Spooky for because of terrorist attack stuff. Is that what that was your concern? You can see that. Yes, we are. What's up, Big Lubbock? We're about to not be though. I'm about to get out of here. Just answering the last couple questions. That's good. That's interesting. I think that that's them trying to move their ass, and I hope that they do move their ass on it because, first off, I don't really want it to go to a home and home. Um, I mean, not to say that. I mean, DKR is a nice stadium. I've been there, covering other teams, but yeah, I don't know, man. I just I like it the way it is. Texas Tech beats Tennessee ain't getting in there, and neither. I don't know that I believe Tech's going to get in there yet. You're going to have to show me first. I don't think Tennessee gets in this year, bud. Got to tell you, not happening. You talking first round game or something there? Well, you sure do believe in that. And old Joey, for him not having ever won anything more than what did they win last year? 8? That was his best year? I don't know, bro. How could you believe in it? I don't know. I don't know about that. I mean, I think it could happen. Robbed, I'm sure has happened a bunch. Robbed, I'm sure it's happened a bunch. Beaten up stuff. Man, there's fights that happen between OU and Texas fans all the time. The thing is, I think for the most part, like during the daytime especially, you're going to see probably less of that stuff as far as like anybody from the area going after you because it's money for that area, They're making money off of you. So you got to be really careful if you're in that, you know what I mean? I don't think that because like I said, a lot of people with their little houses and stuff, they use up all their yard space for people to park in. They make money. Give me your last 4 in the playoffs. I don't know. The last 4 in the playoffs. So one of them will be. Are you talking about? You're gonna have not auto bid, is what you're saying? Hmm. I don't know. I'm gonna have to think about it, bro. I'm not gonna give it to you right now. Oh yeah, she went to Texas, huh? That makes sense. Tennessee's not gonna make it. I don't think they're going to make it. I don't know. I think it'd be whatever the last team to get in for the SEC is, which I think they'll get 4 this year. So could be Oklahoma could be one of the last 4. Let me think. I don't know. It's a good question. It'll be one of the Big Ten. One will be a Big Ten team. One will be an SEC team because they're going to get, they're going to get 4. I think more than likely. What to see? I don't know. Oh, 103 to 0 in 1918. Holy shit! Poor Hogs took ass whippings. She was wild. Them Bush girls were both like that. We have a losing record against Ole Miss. I didn't know that. 0-2, huh? Most of them we haven't played a ton of times, though, right? I mean, there's only a few that I think even with like Alabama, we've only played them like 4 or 5 times, haven't we? The Superman game, Roy. Yeah. Yeah. I didn't go to that one. I went to the one in '99 and then the one in 2000 also. But I didn't go to the 2001. What an ass beating that was. The Superman game. I love it. That's the only time you've been, Scott? Nico overrated. I don't know that it's so much about Nico. It's that I don't think that they've replaced the guys that, I mean, they had their receiver room was really good. Their running back was way underrated. And also their defense. I think that Nico can have a better year, and I still don't think that it means they win more games. I don't. So I mean, like, and I kind of feel the same way with Texas. I have a hard time believing that, I know a lot of people have Arch as their number 1 quarterback in year 1. Bullshit. New offensive line, 4 out of 5. You get CJ Baxter back, okay. I mean, I like their receivers, but a bunch of unproven talent on the back end too. As far as defense is concerned, they lost a lot off the D line. They lost their best players out of the secondary too. I don't know how you just expect them to go out and, aside from their cakewalk schedule, but I think that you could lose the Ohio State game right off the bat. It's in the shoe. I think you're going to lose on the road to Georgia. I think Oklahoma beats you. There you go. That's 3 losses. 3 losses gets them out of the playoff. So that means he wouldn't win the Heisman. They like him, but they don't like him as much as they like Arch. Arch is the starter. What's his name? Trey something, I think. Let me look. Texas is. Trey Owens, redshirt freshman. And KJ Lacey, they like him too, but he's a true freshman. They like Trey Owens, apparently. He looked pretty good in the spring game last year that I saw. What do you guys think about that? Is that Sark's getting a little touchy about that spring game stuff? about it's not because of poaching. He just wants to try to. What did he read? I had it up here. Let me find it. Shit was kind of funny. Texas head coach Steve Sarkisian pushed back on the narrative that the Longhorns skipped their spring game amid tampering. Sarkisian simply wanted to go in a different direction. There are plenty of teams across the SEC and other conferences that opted to not have one. Seems like this has been a bigger deal than in recent years. Sarkisian was clear it wasn't because of tampering. Heck, that could happen anyway, spring game or not, which is true. All the while, I think one thing is important, that there's a little bit of a misnomer of why we're not having it. To be clear, the portal opens April the 16th. It closes on the 25th. That's Friday. So we're not going to have a spring game. So people don't. So we're not going to have a spring game so people don't tamper with our players. They could go out, catch 5 touchdowns on that Saturday. They couldn't go in the portal anyway. That's bullshit. When was their spring game supposed to be? He's acting like it was going to be before the portal or after the portal was already open. Come on. People are going to tamper with our players, whether we like it or not. That's fine. Hopefully we've built the culture. He's saying the right things, but he's talking about we're not going to have a spring game because I have 27 new faces on my roster. What sense does that make, though? That I need to take time and develop. That development starts at the beginning of spring ball, where we've got to really build a foundation of understanding 27 new faces of the whys of what we do, from how we practice to the drills, blah, 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 blah. Now the challenge for us as a coaching staff is to grow quickly, that we've got to build the foundation. Then we've got to go grow because I believe we do have a talented football team. Yeah, but that doesn't make sense. For him, everybody else is saying that it's going to mess with your like Shotty's been arguing that it messes with your development and like putting them in that situation of a spring game. So I mean, I don't know. None of it matters. I think that it's not going to be long. Ow. I think it's not going to be long until they're all doing it. I hadn't even talked about this. When did this come out? Just recently? Ay. Hold on now. I haven't seen this, but do I buy that he knowingly took them? Do you buy that he didn't? As a little guy trying to make it in the NFL, could you blame him even if he did? I don't. I don't care about steroids, though, to be quite honest with you. It doesn't bother me at all. I like my baseball on steroids. I suspect that most football teams do today. 2-game suspension. Yeah. If he's on the team, that's okay. He's going to be on the team this year? Awesome. Or you? Oh, well, from the XFL? Is that what that came from the XFL? Yeah, I don't know. I think that when you're trying to make it and you're a fringe guy like that, I don't even know. And I don't even know what the definition of steroids are these days. There are so many supplements and things like that they could call it that or not call it that or whatever. I don't know. It doesn't bother me. Not bothered by it. I'm not bothered by it for baseball. I think that all the baseball players that were taking them should be in the halls too, if they're Hall of Fame worthy with their numbers, because they were all doing it. Just like every person that took performance enhancing drugs back in the day in the Tour de France, it was all of them. So Lance Armstrong was still a bad dude. So, I mean, you know what I mean? I just don't give a shit. I just don't give a shit. Yeah, it's stupid. And again, you could also just call the shit science. You know what I mean? It's these guys, it's supplemental, and these guys are, and they change. A lot of these things come off and on, and it depends on who it is that built it and did whatever, I don't know. The FDA, can you trust the FDA? I don't know. Yeah, it didn't make a lot of confidence to me, or a lot of sense to me. It definitely, I think you develop something in it to some extent. I also don't necessarily I also think that you can develop just as much having your normal scrimmages at the end of each week, which they would do anyway. Um, do I care? I mean, does it bother me? A little bit. Yeah, I wish that they were having it. I wish that they were having it. But I also think that in the situation of the injuries and stuff that you've got right now, I don't necessarily have a problem with not having it. And so I don't know, man. Would I like to see them? Hell yeah. I would. Yeah, it was much better with steroids. Shit, yeah. The Sosa and McGuire. Yeah, yeah, yeah. They saved the damn game with that, you realize. They saved the game. Right before that, there had been a strike. And nobody was watching the shit. I was living in New Jersey at that time in the military. And we used to go after the strike just had gotten over. We used to go watch games in New York. If we went to Yankee games, they were at the most for us was like 10, $12 at the most to get into one of them. We could get in for free at Philly games in Philly. Yeah. PCP, huh? I don't know about all that. But hey, have you guys ever seen that there was that I don't it may have been a 30 for 30 or it might have just been a Netflix documentary, but about the guy that pitched a no-hitter on acid in the 70s? That was a trip. I didn't even mean to, no pun intended there, but I guess I threw one out there. No, it was actually like 28th or 29th place. 28th or 29th place that they would have had to go to. And that was the earliest they had out of all 7 of them that they would have had to go back to would have been like 28th or 29th. I think that just goes to show you the entire sport was blood doping, or they were doping in some way. I also think there's plenty of shit we could talk about when it comes to that, as far as what's going on in sports. I'm a little more concerned about, men playing with women than I am about, guys juicing and playing against each other. I mean, Clemens was saying, yeah, of course we were doing it. Yeah, all the hitters were doing it, so we were doing it. It made for balls going out the yard often. A lot. I would also tell you that, do you believe that before, I mean, I could tell you that Barry Bonds and Mark McGwire were both Hall of Famers before they ever started roiding, although I think that, McGwire started pretty early. But I saw Barry Bonds before he started roiding, which he didn't start until after the McGwire Sosa chase. And he was already the best player in the game by a lot. Well, Lance Armstrong is a prick, by the way. But yeah, I think that he won. Yeah, I don't even think that's a political thing to say at this point, although I think some people take it there. But men and women's sports, men and women's bathrooms, not okay. Not okay. So, just me. That's just me. I mean, could I imagine it? Sure. Listen, man, when I played football in high school, there were guys that were taking different things for different things, you know? I remember guys that used to get on different, like the yellow jackets and then like different or methamphetamine pills or something like that. Dexatrins, Dexies is what they called them. And then they'd be pounding Mountain Dew with that before games. The fuckers would be frothing at the mouth, man. Those defensive players, fucking crazy. Just to be frothing at the mouth, be nuttier than shit, man. It was wild. And that was just, that was just in high school. But, and then of course, I played against Brian Urlacher in high school. He didn't look like he did in college. Let me just tell you that. I can tell you what I think was happening up there and what I've heard was happening up there. It happens a lot, guys. It just happens a lot. So if Stoops did it, so be it. I'm not going to hate on him for it. Ephedrine, a blast to the past. Best workouts ever. Yeah, there you go. Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah, you could get most of that. And all that shit was over the counter too. And then there was guys that were doing worse shit. I mean, when I was a sophomore, man, I saw some shit in the locker room that I was like, whoa. But it was pretty old hat by the time we got to be seniors. But we were so much better than everybody in our state by the time we were seniors that I didn't see as much of that then. But the seniors, when we were sophomores, those dudes were nuts. Pretty wild, man. All right, guys, I'm going to get out of here. Been going 2.5 hours. I appreciate everybody coming in. We've had, we've had a few over about 450 views in here in YouTube. Appreciate that, guys. Make sure you jump in there and hit that like button if you hadn't already done it. I appreciate that. That's a free way to make sure that you're helping out the channel. We don't expect super chats. If you want to do one, it's always better to make sure you jump in there and get us on Cash App or Venmo. You'll find that in our actually I'll just put those in there right now in the deal. But like I said, the free way to do it, and we appreciate that just as much. It's more important for us. Got Cash App and Venmo right here, but it's always good to have you guys in the show. Appreciate appreciate having all the interaction with you guys that I get, and you guys jumping in here and being around and supporting the show, man. Appreciate it. We'll be back in here tomorrow for Rise and Shine College Football. Going to talk about the toughest schedules in the SEC, and I'll run through some of that. We'll do some of that in the morning. Should have Boganowski or Dent. I think Dent. They may both be in Oklahoma. I know Dent is. I'm not sure if Bogue is or not. I'll get a hold of him tonight. We may get either one or both of them, but for sure I'll be in here. Rise and Shine College Football at 10:15 Eastern Time. That's 9:15 Central. Appreciate everybody coming in, and we will see you all on the next one.